Calme-toi. Tu viens de faire un cauchemar, toi.
Un cauchemar horrible, j'ai rêvé que tu me tuais, Shirley.
Ah oui, bah ça, moi aussi, j'en rêve. Hein.
Ah oui, je sais.
Mais t'inquiète pas, c'est
mais
pas
j'ai
le
eu
cas.
peur.
Allez, calme-toi, mais la spéciale Halloween à présenter.
Mais j'ai peur d'Halloween, tu le sais. Je déteste Halloween, j'ai peur d'Halloween. Voilà.
C'est une spéciale Halloween.
Bah oui, mais...
Donc on va faire Halloween, Christian, calme-toi.
D'accord, bon, je me détends.
Tu sais que l'émission a commencé, qu'il faut qu'on dise bonjour à tout le monde, à nos spectateurs et spectatrices.
Ouais.
Tu te calmes.
Je me détends, promis, je te l'avais promis.
Tu y vas? Regard caméra.
Amis du Manoir, bonjour à toutes et à tous et bienvenue à cette émission numéro 7 spéciale Halloween.
Maintenant que nous sommes bien au chaud et à l'abri de tout danger...
Ah ouais, j'ai eu les chocottes moi tout à l'heure.
Oui, t'en as pleuré. Christian a séché ses larmes et nous pouvons enfin débuter cette édition numéro 7 spéciale Halloween.
Mais oui, spéciale Halloween, Shirley, alors.
T'emballes pas, hein, tu faisais moi le malin tout à l'heure. Il est l'auteur de Sandman, de Coraline, de L'étrange vie, de Nobody Owens, des œuvres lues dans le monde entier. Il a même reçu des dizaines de prix littéraires et il a eu l'idée géniale d'épouser Amanda Palmer. Neil GAIMAN était à Paris fin octobre pour présenter son dernier titre, le roman L'océan au bout du chemin. Et c'est Marie et Sébastien qui ont eu la chance de le rencontrer.
La chance, c'est des super vénards parce que Neil GAIMAN, c'est quand même le top. Hein.
Trop de la chance.
One of the things that astonished me about this book, I wrote it originally it began almost as a letter. It was a short story that I was going to give my wife, except it didn't stop, it just kept going. And she was in Australia making a record, and I missed her. So I started writing what was for me a very personal, small story that I was going to give my wife. When I finished it, it was the length of a novel. But when it was published, when I sent it to my publishers, I was very apologetic. I did not think it was commercial. I was like, look, here is this book. It is a small thing. It is very personal. I don't know if anybody else will like it, but here you go. What was strange for me about the novel was, firstly, people liked it. Lots of people liked it. Lots of people liked it very much. And when they read it, they would say to me, you know, you have written my childhood. My childhood was nothing like that, but somehow you have written my childhood. And sometimes they would start telling me more. You know, a woman who read my book 2 days ago started telling me how when she was 5, she remembers, and she'd forgotten it for years, but then she read my book and she remembered how she could fly just down some stairs in her house, and it only worked on those stairs, and she could only do it from one step down to the landing, but she could fly. And she never showed anybody, and she'd forgotten, but now she remembered. And another woman told me how when she was a child, she knew that she could summon the wind, but she had forgotten, and then she read the book and it came back to her. And I loved the idea that people do not live in childhood in the world that we live in. Not quite. And whether they have misremembered, whether they imagine, or whether strange things happen that they carry through into adulthood, almost does not matter. What matters is that we each carry around with us a buried childhood that we think is dead, but is absolutely not dead. I think the most important thing that we possess, the thing that sets us apart from from animals, the thing that sets us apart from natural physical reactions, the thing that sets us apart and makes us human. But doesn't just make us human, gives us everything, is our imagination. Without imagining something first, we would not have chairs. We would be sitting on rocks, on the ground. And we would not have walls. We would be out there in the rain. And we would be, without the imagination, we would be drinking from our hands. Everything that you see in the world was imagined first. It existed in the world of ideas and the imagination before ever it existed in reality. Somebody had to decide, somebody had to imagine a pen. Somebody had to grind up pigment and make ink. Somebody else had to take that idea and imagine how it could be better. How instead of just dipping your pen in the ink, maybe you could get the ink inside the pen. If you kill the imagination, then you kill our ability to change the future. And as a race, we can change the future for the better. As a species, we can change the future for the better, or we can change it for the worse. And our imaginations have to be big enough to see the worst, to imagine that, and then imagine ways that we can repair the damage and we can get to the future. I think it would be incredibly arrogant of me to say, yes, I am creating new fairy tales. And the great thing is, I will never know, because I will not live long enough. But, you know, if in 200 years' time, they're still telling stories that I came up with, I would be very happy, you know. There are stories that we know who created them. Not a lot. Thomas Southey created the story of the three bears. Although in his story, it wasn't a little girl called Goldilocks. It was an old woman and three bears. So perhaps stories are also Darwinian in evolution. They find the best version, they get told and retold, and people pick the version that is best and that lasts. Well, I think death, by its nature, moves back into the world of the imagination. But let's be very clear on fantasy and the fantastic. When you talk about death, you are by nature talking about stuff that is outside of our experience. Everybody who stands at a funeral and says, you know, Marie is dead, we will meet Marie again in a better place. It is a fantasy. It is the imagination. They can believe it. We can believe it. We can believe that Marie is happy in heaven. We can believe that Marie is in hell. We can believe with the Buddhists or the Hindus that Marie as a spirit essence is now going to be reborn and come round again. We can believe that Marie is a ghost. We can even believe that Marie's essence has been snuffed out entirely. But all of this stuff is belief. And for me, the moment that you leave the world of things that you know and enter the world of the mind and enter the world of belief, then we are dealing with the material of fantasy. I think Lovecraft, as a creator, the warped damage that Howard Phillips Lovecraft experienced as a person was very important to our times, because it meant that this damaged man wrote these strange stories that somehow encapsulated an idea that nobody had adequately expressed before then, which was that we are tiny. We humans think that we're big and we're important, but actually the universe is a vast one, filled with dark things that it is almost foolish to say that they mean us harm, because we are as irrelevant to them as an ant or a beetle or a bacterium is to us. And that those times that they are destroying us, they might actually directly destroy us. We may just be driven mad by the understanding the reality of their existence. And I think I very much, when I read this, I internalized it and I accepted it as a way of looking at the world and a way of understanding the world. So once that's in your head, I think that Lovecraftian view is very difficult to shake. And I could point at Coraline and say there's absolutely, the other mother in Coraline, there is something deeply Lovecraftian about her, just seen from a slightly different angle. And things like Ursula Monckton and the Hungerbirds, there is something Lovecraftian about them. I do not ever believe that any movies will happen until it is the premiere opening night and I'm sitting there eating my popcorn. And at the moment where I'm eating my popcorn and watching Stardust or watching Coraline or watching Beowulf or watching Miramar, I'm good, a movie happened. I believe it now. So, there is meant to be a movie of the ocean at the end of the lane. It will be great if it happens. There's meant to be a movie of the Graveyard Book. It will be great if it happens. There are short stories of mine that are being filmed. John Cameron Mitchell is meant to be filming my story, How to Talk to Girls at Parties, a science fiction story set in England in punk times. It will be great if it happens. It may do, it may not. When I was a kid, it was definitely werewolf, because I couldn't think of anything better than being able to turn into a wolf. I thought nobody, just seemed like such a great idea, especially when you're 7. You go, I could turn into a wolf, I could run very fast, I'd be dangerous, nobody would screw with me. The kids who take my school cap and throw it on the roof. So anyway, I think definitely werewolves. I like them. I like anything that transforms into a wolf when the moon is full.
L'océan au bout du chemin est paru au Diable Vauvert. Rappelons que plusieurs titres de Neil GAIMAN ont été portés à l'écran. C'est le cas de Stardust, que tu adores, Shirley, réalisé par Matthew Vaughn, et bien sûr du célèbre Coraline, tourné par Henri Selick,
à qui on doit l'étrange Noël de Monsieur Jack. Alors, Christian, tes coups de cœur?
Coup de cœur, mais je vais te le dire tout de suite. Écoute, parmi les bouquins à ne pas manquer pour Halloween, Les Furies de Boras, c'est un recueil de nouvelles signé Anders Fager. Fager, c'est suédois, il a été punk, auteur de jeux de rôle, bibliothécaire, il imagine des créatures à la Lovecraft, tapissées dans l'ombre, une société de furie des Boras, enfin un truc complètement déjanté. C'est un mec rock'n'roll, et c'est voilà, son bouquin Les Furies des Boras, c'est aux éditions Mirobol.
Merci.
De rien, Charlie, ça me fait plaisir.
Cinéma?
Cinéma, Charlie, je crois que tu as insisté pour nous présenter ce film.
Bien sûr. Je ne sais pas lire, mais j'aime beaucoup les images qui bougent. Petite piqûre de rappel pour cette spéciale Halloween avec Trick or Treat, un petit bijou méconnu tourné en 2007 par Michael Dougherty. Un film à sketch qui raconte 4 histoires se déroulant tout le soir d'Halloween.
This is the one night.
Don't forget your costume.
All sorts of things. Roam free.
C'est grinçant, c'est sanglant, ça rappelle beaucoup Creepshow de Romero.
De Romero, oui.
Et en plus, tu adorerais, puisqu'on y retrouve en petit chaperon rouge, la jolie Anna Paquin.
Oh, non.
Trick or Treat est édité chez Warner.
You gotta be kidding me.
I hate Halloween.
Mon Christian, il y a un truc qui m'inquiète.
Moi aussi.
On est Halloween. Voilà, tu sais qui j'attends.
Ouais, Jean-Louis Logre.
Voilà, je sais pas ce qu'il fait, je sais pas s'il est en retard ou si c'est encore à lapin.
Un lapin, je le connais.
Encore une fois, tu crois, parce que émission 3, il vient pas, émission 4, il vient pas. Là, ça suffit un peu, quoi. Écoute, moi, j'en ai un peu... Enfin, voilà. C'est pas que j'en ai marre, mais j'irais bien manger ma soupe à la citrouille et puis faire ma tournée, tu
Voilà,
vois,
boire
des
un-
bonbons, la vie, tout ça.
Voilà, voilà.
Là, c'est le soir, quand même.
Ouais, des trucs sobres,
ouais.
sans
On y
alcool,
va.
sans sobre.
On y va.
On y va et on verra après.
Ah, on viendra éteindre tout à l'heure, tout ça. Mais là, on va boire un coup.
Allez,
Hein
on y va. Go!
Allez, c'est
Allez.
parti.
Les fiches, on s'en fout de tout ça, allez hop!
Ils sont cassés ces 2 cadavres là. Ah voilà, place est là à moi. Je vais pouvoir m'asseoir tranquillement. L'ogre il est là devant vous. Il est plus tout jeune. Hein. Moi je suis un ogre. Et j'aime les enfants. J'adore ça. Et là c'est Halloween en ce moment. Et donc il y a un bouquin qui est sorti chez Albin Michel. Les auteurs c'est Prentice et Veil. Et ils ont fait un livre où c'est un jeune homme qui s'appelle Jack. Et donc, ça se passe au XVIe siècle à peu près. Et il va avoir plein de pouvoirs. Et en fait, il va vivre une aventure un peu style Magie Noire. Et d'ailleurs, Magie Noire, c'est le titre du livre. C'est pas dur à retenir. Donc les enfants, si vous avez ce livre-là, si je vous croise, si vous avez 11 ans, vous êtes pré-ado, si vous avez ce bouquin, je vous ferai rien. Franchement, je vous croquerai pas. Par contre, si vous l'avez pas, je vous digère. D'accord? Voilà. Vous êtes le bonjour de l'ogre. Et je reviendrai.